Does the fact that it's processed alone make it a bad food? Or is it because the process of processing causes a loss in the good stuff and addition of a lot of bad stuff? When we say because this word processed foods has become just like a blanket term. So in my brain, I go, if it's processed, it has to be bad. But is that accurate?
Well, we need to separate virtually all the food that we eat, and I eat as well, is processed.
Yeah.
But we need to separate that from ultra processed. So plain yogurt, nothing added, nothing, changed, is processed because you're mixing a basic ingredient, milk, with microbes. You're actually creating something. That's processing. But it's when you take it to the next stage and you would make that same product from, say, milk powder, and then you would add various starches and stabilizers, emulsifiers, concentrates, artificial sweeteners, flavorings. That same yogurt becomes ultra processed. And it's that extra step that is the main problem. Nothing wrong with processed food. Cheese is processed. There's nothing wrong with that. Most of the foods we eat some have had salt added or oil added or something like that. But it's when it's chemicals that you don't find in your kitchen being added to foods that have been stripped of all their goodness. So they wouldn't just use cow's milk. It would be, dried extract of casein, or you wouldn't take wheat. It would be the stripped out inner part of that wheat, and then that's temperature treated to melt it and change its composition. And to put these things back together, you need all these glues, like these emulsifiers, you need stabilizers, you need flavorings, sweeteners, colorants, all these extra things to make it look like food again. So I think we shouldn't be calling ultra-processed food. That's a misnomer. We should call them, edible food-like substances that are industrially made. And if we start to realize the difference between these, we can start to make smart food choices. We now know that many of these ingredients, there's been lots of, even research since we last talked about, first things like aspartame has come out which is an artificial sweetener, has been linked to many health problems, including increased risk of cancers and heart disease. We've got emulsifiers have come out recently in a number of studies to show that they affect mental health and they also affect heart disease, even when you adjust for the whole diet and you take just that component of the food. So we know that ultra-processed foods are probably the worst things we're doing for our diets. And in the UK, the average person is saying about 60% of all their food is ultra-processed without knowing about it. We're eating 4 times more than healthy European countries who are often poorer than us. So it's not just a question of money. It's just become this battle of us poor consumers against these massive companies with billions of pounds to spend on marketing that have told us this stuff is healthy because of these fake health halos, vitamins, no sugar, no this, no fat, confusing the consumer, and all the time giving us foods that not only give us disease, but importantly make us overeat. So we pick that stuff. Doesn't matter. It says just whether, even if it's just low fat, or it's got lots of other chemicals, both make you overeat by a quarter. So you'll be hungrier after eating that than you would be if you had a completely plain yogurt with none of those extra chemicals in it.
Okay. So I've got 3 different drink-like foods here. I've got my Oasis Citrus Punch. On this one, it says natural flavorings and real fruit. So that must be healthy. Real fruit.
If it says real fruit on it, you should be very suspicious. Okay, that's the first thing to look at it. And natural flavors, that really means nothing. And this is, natural is a great word, means nothing medically, scientifically, but it's been a buzzword for me, getting people to buy stuff. So basically this is a mixed blend of citrus fruits, which means the mixtures of all kinds of different fruit extracts that's combined with sugar and artificial sweeteners. They're, again, highly processed fruits. They're not fresh fruits. And it's got a mixture of those. It's got citric acid. It's got sugar, orange flavorings. It's got stabilizers, polyphosphates, glycerol esters. It's got, looks like wood resins, acidity regulators, preservatives. It's got some potassium sorbate, potassium benzoate. It's got the sweeteners aspartame and ACE-K.
Aspartame is what you were just talking about, right?
Yes,
aspartame.
That's the one that WHO have just put on their warning list. So yes, it's packed with things that you wouldn't expect if you just squeezed a bit of juice in and thought it was healthy. So this is a good example of a totally fake ultra-processed food that makes it look like it's real fruit and is going to be healthy for you. And it is just a mix of chemicals that's just going to mess up your gut microbes and make you feel hungrier.
Okay, but this one here, this Philadelphia, says light. So it says 100% of the taste, but 40% less fat. So Philadelphia light, surely that's good.
Well, it's got cheese in it. It's often have this. We did do some tests on this a while ago. It does have microbes in it. If it's low in fat, they've generally added something else to increase the mouthfeel. And indeed, we see here it's got stabilizers, it's got emulsifiers, all these things that we know have effects on your gut microbes, make you hungrier, and can affect your heart as well. So, yeah, I would avoid that one.
What do we have to... I've got a few last things for you there. What do we have to look out for on the packaging of these products? Because interestingly, the one you have in your hand, the bar there, the snack bar, on the back of it, they do admit that it's a little bit processed. They actually, there's a sentence on the back of it. I'll read out. It says, I was reading it as you said it. It says, well, clearly it would be wrong for us to claim that everything in this bar is 100% natural and simply grows on trees. Obviously, some ingredients need to be cleaned, dried, and roasted too, and therefore to some extent processed. It's just that we believe the less we mess with it, the better it tastes. That's why we never add any artificial flavors or colors or any preservatives.
Yeah,
well, in the natural bar. And the ingredients...
that's a good thing to say. It's quite hard to produce some of these snack bars without having things to stick it together or gums.
Glucose syrup, soya protein, Crispies, isolate, tapioca starch, salt, dates, almonds, salted caramel, muscovado sugar, buttermilk powder, natural flavorings, cream powder, milk, rice, flour, carbo flour, and salt.
Yeah, it doesn't, when you read it out like that, it doesn't sound quite as natural as the label suggests, does it? Because you've just got all these ingredients that are, again, half of them you wouldn't find in your kitchen. And it's partly to protein packed. If you just need the nuts and the seeds, you wouldn't have to add in all this other stuff from soy and other beans and things, which are ultra processed. They're just taking that bit of it, combining it together. So some of these are better than others, but again, this is ultra processed, and all these snacks, interestingly, are really often the downfall in places like the US and the UK, where we're just eating so much our energy is coming from these snacks, which wasn't the case 20 years ago.
So on that point of snacking, is snacking good or bad, and what impact does that have on the overall nutritional profile of an individual? Because a lot of people snack, right? Nearly everybody snacks.
I think that's right. Over 90% of people snack. So it's become normal to snack. In this country, in the US, it is the norm. It's not the norm in other countries. So you can see much less snacking habits in Southern Europe than you do here, and much less in many Asian countries as well.
A Zoe study found that 95% of people were snackers.
Yes.
And 25% of people are undoing the benefits of healthy meals by unhealthy snacking.
Yeah, so 95% of people we found in that Zoe study are snackers, and most of them are unhealthy. So just by reaching for a snack, unless you're really careful, you're going to be having not only extra calories, but unhealthy calories that's going to undo many of the good things you're eating. So we found in the Zoe survey that people would be really focusing on their main meal, saying this is a really healthy meal, I'm having plenty of plants and vegetables, but oh well, I've got to have my snack. And so they'd be undoing all that good by having something that would then a couple of hours later really upset their metabolism and make them hungrier, and so mess up the idea and make them hungrier. So in the UK and the US, it's around a quarter of our calories come from snacks. If we were able to even to reduce that a bit, or just change that snack to a healthy one, or ideally move that snacking time to the meal itself, most of these would be much less harmful if you had them at the end of your meal, when your body is, starting to do all this work, breaking down the food, is gearing up for this high activity. Virtually all the snacks that people have late in the evening are bad for you. And that's because you're getting a sugar spike just before going to bed. Your body's not ready for it. Your gut microbes are not ready for it. It doesn't give them a rest. And so you actually end up hungrier the next day. So we're starting to realize that it's not just the food. And we've seen that most of these snacks are very unhealthy, going to make you hungrier. But the timing of it also messes up your circadian rhythms. So you're not recovering. And the next day you're going to feel hungrier than you were if you didn't snack. So it's like counterintuitive. You think, oh, if I have something before I go to bed, I'm not going to be as hungry tomorrow. And this is what many people get into, this common mistake. So we need to start changing people's attitude in this snack epidemic about snacks, and say, you don't need them. And if you do, have healthy ones. And, nuts and seeds and fruit are perfectly healthy ones. And we showed in our study, which we published recently, that people who do have those healthy snacks are really hardly any extra risk of health problems compared to those that people don't snack, as long as it's not late at night. So if you eat within that sort of normal eating window, and some people are natural snackers. I don't know if I'm not, but I know many of my colleagues at Zoe can't go 2 or 3 hours without eating. They really find it hard. But just by thinking more about that snack and saying, well, I know I've got this tendency, I'm going to eat something that's healthy.
Like nuts or something?
Yeah, just a handful of mixed nuts, an apple, a pear, something that's not super sugary or super fat, but importantly, not ultra processed, not something that's got this health halo that says, eat me, I've got high in protein, I'm going to, eat me and you'll get bigger muscles. No, eat me and you'll get fatter.
Those health halos then, what are, just so we've summarized them, low fat is a health halo, you're saying, no sugar, real fruit, trying to remember all the ones.
Extra vitamins.
Vitamin labeling on products. Natural flavorings, I think it said.
Yes.
One of the products. Are those the main ones? Have I missed any there?
I think we've covered, yeah. So claims about low fat, low sugar, nothing artificial.
High protein, I guess.
Natural.
Right.
High protein. Some would be gut friendly. Generally, they're warning signs that this food is to be avoided. Find something that doesn't need that health claim. You never see a real food with a health claim. They don't need it. You got an apple, doesn't need a claim. Contains vitamins, contains fiber. Real foods don't need health labels.
If you love the Diary of a CEO brand and you watch this channel, please do me a huge favor. Become part of the 15% of the viewers on this channel that have hit the subscribe button. It helps us tremendously, and the bigger the channel gets, the bigger the guests.